Monica Miller is a senior counsel for the American Humanist Association. She is, of course, an attorney. She's been with the AHA for about half a decade, I guess now. She is, if you've read the recent headlines also, an agent of Beelzebub, an eater of children, a hater of freedom and justice all around the world. I'm sure you probably have, obviously, anyone who has received the amount of vitriol that you have seen in the last week this must resonate with you, right, Monica? They're coming after you big time, correct?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not unique for me to be the target of some angry Christians, in these lawsuits we bring, but this particular case generated a lot of ill will towards me, specifically as a result of our success in the Pensacola cross case.
Okay, well, that's why we're speaking. We're talking about Pensacola, Florida. Set it up for those who are not familiar with the story. The cross in a city park in Pensacola?
That's right. Yes.
Okay, well, give me the details.
Sure. So the city has owned, maintained, has restored this cross that it's had on its property for since about the 1970s, early 1970s. The city's cross, it's on city property. So it's a clear violation of the First Amendment, the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. So we joined forces with the Freedom from Religion Foundation and successfully had it removed. Now, mind you that the judge that ruled against the cross was a Reagan-appointed judge. He was not a liberal judge, as the conservatives like to sort of blame in these cases. He was very, he didn't want to rule in our favor, and he made that point very clear, but he recognized the law is the law, and this thing must come down. But yeah, so that's sort of the background.
It's interesting that the judge always feels the need I say always, so many cases, a religious judge operating by the letter of the law still has to throw the editorial in there. They always said, now, I personally wish it wasn't the case. I don't think it's really just in my heart, but the Constitution or the letter of the law says this. It's like a knee jerk. They have to throw it in.
Yeah, in this case, I think it actually works to our advantage because should the city decide to appeal, it's such a clear case. It just sort of highlights the fact that this is such a clear case. When you have a judge that so desperately wants to rule against us, is still finding his hands tied by the law. So I understand completely what you're saying, but
come on, Monica, it's just a cross. It doesn't hurt anybody. It makes people happy. It's part of their heritage. I'm trying to find the cliches and throw them at you. You probably heard many more than these, even over the last 5-7 days, right?
Right, absolutely. But, the point is that the cross can stand on city property. There's tons and tons of crosses in Pensacola, Florida. They don't need one on the city's property. All that says to, the residents is that the city prefers their religion over all the others and over non-religion. So for the residents there that are atheists, they have to, day in and day out, see this cross that represents the city's preference for some other religion that's not their own.
So if Lucian Greaves and the Satanic Temple folks show up with a Baphomet statue for that same park, do you think these folks would be as eager to protect religious quote-unquote freedom?
Absolutely not. I've tried to bring up that point, before. Even, in fact, in court, I mentioned to the judge, this would probably be a very different situation we'd be in if this was an Islamic star and crescent, some other symbol. Not a Christian one. And I think, of course, he's a judge. He can understand that would be the case. But I think a lot of these citizens, they truly believe that this is a Christian city because of these sort of relations that the city has demonstrated its preferences. And that's not the country that we live in, where we have a Christian city over here and an Islamic city over here. No, the government's supposed to be neutral for a reason.
Hey, Monica, is Pensacola where these sort of batshit city council meetings have been taking place with the prayer and they look like revival services? Is that Pensacola?
I believe so. I know our plaintiff, David Suhor, did an invocation in the name of Satan, for lack of a better word.
Well, I know that the David Williamson and Jocelyn Williamson have been involved in getting secular invocations integrated in. If you're going to have an invocation, you might as well make room at the table for people who are not Christian, who are of other faiths or no faith, and they're having some success down there, as I understand it. So.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Exactly.
So the backlash against you begins.
Yes.
Paint the picture for me.
It began right away. It's pretty much as soon as that decision came down, I started getting calls, from upset people. calling me, sort of derogatory, sexist remarks. And, that we get that a little bit, but this sort of was coming on pretty strong, pretty fast. And then we discovered online a gentleman in Pensacola, or at least in Florida, created a collage of I took a selfie with the cross the day before the hearing, and then took a snapshot of my profile here at AHA, and said something to the effect of, here's the idiot attorney that got the cross removed. Let's run her out of town, I guess thinking I was from the area. And then that got shared like about 14,000 times. So yeah, we certainly saw an influx of phone calls from that. But fortunately, we also actually got not just the hate, but actually a ton of support from people around the world, and including donations to the American Humanist Association in this gentleman's name, which we thought was a little bit funny. So it's actually kind of been a net positive experience for the Humanist Association as far as the support we've received.
Yeah, you're at a point position. You're not stupid. You expect this kind of thing. It's not a popular fight in a culturally Christian nation that is seeing the rise of secularism. So now they're freaking out. Their hold on the conversation, their monopoly on power is drifting away, and they're freaking, and they're calling it an attack on Christianity. It's not church-state separation. It's not the upholding of the Constitution. It's a personal attack against their faith. But I'm amazed at, I say amazed, I guess I'm not surprised at just how nasty much of this stuff got. I mean, what would Jesus do, right? Would Jesus call you the type of stuff they were calling you?
Right. No, I know. I mean, that's the thing, too, is like, I guess sometimes I'm not surprised because I've been doing this for quite a while now, but you still do just the hypocrisy kind of, it does make you just think this is so strange that these people that, especially we're fighting about this cross, right, that supposedly Jesus, was crucified to. There's nothing kind of Christ-like about calling someone a cunt. Just all the slew of derogatory words and
Have you encountered people within the church, believers, who are proponents of church-state separation? I know the FFRF says that there are allies within churches who often come and stand alongside them in these fights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I personally have received a lot of messages from Christians that have said, I'm a Christian, but I think that even if I want the cross there, I think that the attacks against you personally are completely not within, what I believe Christianity is and that kind of thing. So we have that category of people who just don't think that the type of, messages that I'm receiving are appropriate. But then we also have plenty of Christian supporters who also don't think the cross should be there in the first place because they recognize that, there's a difference again between city property and private property.
We look at the United States of America, Monica, and I think to myself, do we not have enough private property for all of these religious symbols? How many churches, how many thousands of churches, how many private lawns and how much private acreage is there? Why are these people so freaky over public land?
Right. It's really bizarre. It really is. And I find it kind of ironic that they like to call our plaintiffs and our people, the liberal snowflakes and, why do you care so much about a cross? We kind of like, well, why do you? It's like, this doesn't belong on city property. It's a very simple, clean case. You have other crosses, but they get so worked up over it.
I saw a great line on Twitter. It said snowflake, and it was a tweak at some of these sort of gun-toting God and country types. It said snowflake, someone who believes that they have to pack a gun to go out and buy a sandwich. And I thought, that's a great line, Monica. Anybody else look at the construction? I mean, let's just talk about the crosses themselves. I mean, is there a bigger demonstration of theological masturbation in this world than the erection, pardon the pun, of these massive, expensive, 80, 100, 200-foot crosses? And, even if they're placed on private land, we're subjected to them from way over here on the hill. And I think, does hungry children not occur to these people? Cancer cures, those types. I mean, what is this really where you want your money to go? Do you ever have these conversations in your own head?
I mean, I definitely do. I mean, even just today, you probably saw the news about the gentleman who rammed his car into the Ten Commandments monument that was just put up. But, that monument, private citizens donated apparently the money, but it, was about $20,000. It's probably going to cost the state a whole lot more to defend it once we all sue them. And, it's like with that $20,000 could go to homelessness. It could go to, starving children. I mean, really, you can think of a plethora of things that people could spend their money on rather than just erecting giant religious monuments, especially on government property.
I'm glad you brought up the Ten Commandments. So this guy smashes, it's up for what, a day? Guy smashes his car into it and destroys it. And I saw Andrew Seidel from the FFRF and many others, I think the Secular Coalition for America and a few other organizations, publicly denouncing it. They're like, look, we are against the erection of the Ten Commandments monument. We think it's wrong in every way. But we don't condone vandalism and violence against the monument itself. Do you want to speak to that?
Oh, 100%. Neither does the AHA. I mean, it's we don't want to send a message of destruction or violence, because that's the wrong message. The reason why we're here, the reason why we have lawyers, is to go through the proper channels, to go through the courts, and to use the system, not to go against it. It doesn't help our cause at all.
Is there anything we can do to help you and the AHA? And how can we help prevent this sort of insanity in the future?
I think what happened in this particular instance with that thing that the gentleman shared, with my picture, seeing so many people kind of come to my defense and explain the Constitution to others and, explain like what I was doing and, just kind of come to my defense in these social media forums really was absolutely great. I mean, that made me feel like, okay, these people really do have my back. Like, I'm doing the right thing, and just kind of giving that encouragement at a time where you're like, am I in the right career? So it's like, it does. I think that alone just really helps. And, people can become members of AHA and, just support us that way. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I'd want people to do that very thing. You're really taking the fight out there, and you're doing the work that many of us either aren't or cannot do. Maybe we're not qualified, we're not attorneys, we're not constitutional experts, or maybe it's just not what we do, but we can support you. When I saw this avalanche of just nastiness come your way, I wanted to take a few minutes and just have a conversation about what it was about, what your response is, and how we can support you. What's the website to the American Humanist Association?
AmericanHumanist.org.
AmericanHumanist.org. Visit the website, support the organization. Monica will follow your story and thank you. Thank you for swinging for the fences and putting up with all of this vitriol and all this poison that's coming at you. Just know that there are many of us we're just fans. We're fans of what you're about. We're so glad you're out there doing what you do. Don't give up. Keep the faith. I guess I say keep the faith. Just hang in there and keep kicking, okay?
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Monica.